Dog's belly won't stop growing, then vet shows mom x-ray. Was this a joke? Surely there was a mistake? Mariesa is frozen in her tracks, soaked in panic and confusion. What the vet just told her has left her completely lost for words. She takes a look at her poor pup Story, lying on the mat in front. She strokes her smooth fur and watches a tear trickles down the pup's cheek. Then she glances down at her dog's massive belly, and a terrible feeling hits the pit of Mariesa's stomach. Nothing would ever be the same again. It was on a cold and crisp day in fall when Mariesa and Chris decided to adopt a dog from their local animal shelter. Since they first got together, the two lovebirds bonded over their love of dogs and pets, but with 10 dogs already in their home, the couple knew they could only choose one dog at the shelter. When they chanced upon a dog in one part of the kennel, both Mariesa and Chris were smitten. This dog was female with pleading eyes and a wagging tail. The couple fell in love immediately. But they had no idea their world was about to get turned upside down. As soon as Mariesa and Chris laid their eyes on this particular dog, they immediately fell in love. The dog, who upon seeing them, approached and started to lick their hands. She was pregnant and Mariesa could see that it was this pet that needed the most care among the others. Right then and there, they decided that this brown pitbull called Story was the one. But what they found out later made them seriously rethink their decision to adopt. Although pit bulls have received a terrible reputation, this is nothing more than one big understanding. You see, the features of this dog breed would be a large head and a muscular physique, although this is not indicative of the risk they actually pose. Even though this is the case, a lot of US states have deemed it illegal to have a pit bull as a pet. That is the reason animal shelters take care of so many pit bulls. This only made Mariesa and Chris want to help the dogs even more, but the couple had no idea what fate was planning for them. Story needed more love than ever, especially with her condition. There was no way that Chris and Mariesa would ever leave her at the shelter like that and vowed to make things right for their new family member. It was hard enough that she was carrying pups in her belly, but a shelter was definitely not the right place for her to give birth, let alone raise her babies. However, that was not the only problem with Story. As it turns out, her condition was much more twisted. The staff at the center informed Mariesa and Chris that it was time for Story to deliver the puppies. In fact, she should have given birth by then. What was going on? This animal-loving couple knew right away that their poor pit bull was in trouble. They had to make a decision on the spot since it could make the difference between life and death for the dog and her unborn puppies. But nobody could have expected what would happen next. Time was running out and the couple knew they had to be quick and they had to make a decision. Story needed to be taken care of right that instant, but the couple had to think it over some more. While the couple was discussing what to do, Story came over and rested her beautiful face on her potential new owner's knee and pleaded with her big brown eyes. Mariesa's heart sunk at the sight before her, and she could have sworn she saw a tear trickle down Story's cheek. Mariesa came to a decision then. But it was a decision she'd live to regret. The couple started to talk about it and weighed the pros and cons of bringing home Story. Without a doubt, it was not a practical idea, but Mariesa wanted to help Story and give her a safe space to deliver the pups. However, Chris suggested something that made perfect sense for the situation at hand. It sure seemed like their best bet, both for their family and for Story and the pups. They had no idea how wrong they were. Chris suggested that they would foster Story and her puppies. However, this was only going to be temporary as the animal rescue team would then look for their forever homes. This sounded like a good idea, right? But the problems did not end there. They still had to find out what was wrong with the pregnancy. What was the reason Story had not yet given birth even though she was close to bursting? The couple knew they had to find out the truth, and when they did they were left feeling sick to their stomach. There must be some reason Story was unable or unwilling to give birth to the babies. Chris and Mariesa decided to go to the internet and look for a way to address the issue. Unfortunately, they did not find a lot of reassuring things online. Research showed that animals often experience a lot of stress and trauma when they live in rescue shelters. Of course, pregnant dogs are more vulnerable to this. A loving home such as Chris and Mariesa's can make a big difference. But what the couple found out next changed everything. Chris and Mariesa started to read up about the matter some more and realized things could escalate further. There was a possibility that Story would lose her puppies. Not only that, but she might also lose her life. The couple knew they had to bring the pregnant pooch to the vet as soon as they could. They popped back in the car and drove to the nearest vet, not knowing their world was about to fall apart. After waiting 30 minutes, which seemed like 3 hours for the panicked couple, finally, the vet conducted an ultrasound scan on the dog Story. But as the vet saw the results, she started to shake her head. How could this even be possible? There must have been some kind of mistake. What she saw would change things forever for Mariesa and Chris. The veterinarian took a deep breath before she delivered the news. She had never had to say this to a dog owner before. How would the owners cope with this news? She went into an explanation of the abnormality she found in Story's womb. You see, she had been expecting to see 6 puppies, but this did not align with the ultrasound results. Instead, what she saw changed everything. Chris and Mariesa had been expecting 6 puppies, but the vet knew this was wrong. The pregnant dog was carrying not 6 puppies but 12. The lovebirds could not believe what they just heard. How could this happen? 6 dogs already sounded like too much, but 12? Clearly, the problem was even more serious than they originally thought. Was Story going to be okay? Was she going to deliver all 12 of her babies? The vet said that the best thing they could do was head home and get ready for the birth. If Story still had not given birth after 48 hours, they should return for yet another examination. By that point, Chris and Mariesa already read up on trauma and stress. They knew how hard things have been on Story. They tried to help her by giving her a very inviting space. Mariesa chose a spot in a spare bedroom. She even placed pillows and blankets for the dog. The couple did not know that something incredible was going to happen there. The worried owners headed off to bed for the night and then went to see how Story was doing upon waking up. They wanted to see if she was feeling better and more comfortable. As Mariesa and Chris headed to the room where they left the pitbull, they could hear some curious noises. They hurried and entered the bedroom. They did not expect to see what they laid their eyes on. They entered the spare bedroom. Much to their delight, they found Story in there with her 12 adorable puppies. She was able to deliver them all while the 2 of them slept. What an incredible sight it was. Mariesa and Chris were reduced to tears by what they saw. Who would have thought Story was finally going to deliver the pups? They were thrilled. Soon enough, they learned just why she waited so long. When dogs give birth to puppies at the shelter, it often becomes stressful for both the mom and babies. Story was somehow aware that the shelter was not a good place for anyone to give birth in an environment like that one. This is the reason she decided to wait for someone like Chris and Mariesa. Isn't it incredible that Story only had to spend one whole day, even less, with Chris and Mariesa to feel comfortable around them? She was so at home she even delivered her litter of puppies. What made it even more special was the fact that no one understands what was going on. Good job, Story.
Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more.